Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about cover letters. Are they dead in 2025? Or are they your secret weapon to stand out in a sea of applicants? If you're like me and you've ever wondered, should I include, should I bother writing another one? This video is for you. And we're going to hop in and find out. First, I'm going to spit a bunch of percentages, a bunch of facts at you. Based on the research that I conducted, 94% of hiring managers say that cover letters influence their decisions to interview. 60% of companies require them. 72% expect one, even when optional. And 49% say a good cover letter can make up for a weak resume. However, that's the perspective from employers. The perspective from an employee is that only 44% of job seekers think that they're relevant. I did a little poll on this, so I'm going to share it with you of what I saw from my LinkedIn responses today. And I think the key takeaway for everyone is that they're not dead and they're evolving. So let's stay ahead of the trend. When should you include a cover letter? Number one, first and foremost, whenever it's required. If someone's like, you need to have this, you literally can't move along in the job application process, include a cover letter. If you have a referral, it's also highly recommended because you can call out that referral's name in the first line. When you're applying to a writing or communication heavy role, think marketing or PR or HR, this is a really great way to give them an example firsthand of how your skill set is when it comes to writing a narrative. If your resume doesn't tell the whole story, i.e., you have a gap in a job, or you have career changes, or maybe you just recently got laid off, my situation, this can be a really great opportunity to explain that part. While I do say save that conversation for the interview, you can really quickly get out ahead of it in a cover letter. If the company is smaller in the startup stage, it can be a great way because a lot of the times the people who are part of that small company are going to take advantage of reading cover letters that they're submitted. And if you're excited about the company's mission or culture, it can be a great way to just speak to that as part of a cover letter. The only time you really want to skip it is if someone explicitly says don't include one, or there's literally no way to upload it. However, I do have a little tip to get around that if there's no way to upload it, but you do want to stand out as an applicant. And I do want to preface with earlier today, this wasn't my opinion. I had a completely different opinion going into this. So in 2025, what's going to make that cover letter effective? Keep it short. The trends are showing 150 to 250 words max. Personalizing it using the hiring manager's name, if you have it, or mentioning company specifics, get away from to whom it may concern. You're not writing someone's like affidavit. Start strong using a hook. Get away from I'm writing to apply for, that's boring. Highlighting 1 to 2 key objectives or achievements can be really important, ideally with how you added value or any numbers that you can share. And then explaining why you're a great fit, specifically why you're excited about the opportunity at hand. And then ideally ending with some type of confident call to action. I'm excited to talk about next steps on X day or when you reach out or something like that. There are special scenarios for cover letters that come up when people are thinking, do I write one? Do I talk about a certain thing? And I actually got a question today. The person wanted to remain a little bit more anonymous, so I'm not going to say the name, but they reached out on LinkedIn and it was a nice connection of mine just to talk to a friend. They asked if they only did a short stint, a couple months at a company, and then got laid off. Should they talk about that in their cover letter or no? And my initial reaction was, you're writing a cover letter? Get out of here. But again, after doing some research, I think that I might start pivoting my approach to including a cover letter. And to answer that person's question, short tenure or recent layoffs, absolutely. Address it briefly and positively. An example of how you could say this is in my short time at blank, I accomplished, include your accomplishments, and it clarified my passion for why, which is why I'm excited about this role. I'll show you in some of the resources I have for you a great way to go ahead and do that. If you're applying via LinkedIn and using that easy apply button, you'll notice that there is not a way to include your cover letter. So this is that trick that I mentioned briefly before. We're going to circle back to this. If you combine your resume and your cover letter into one PDF, then when you attach your resume, it's going to have that cover letter on there and make it very easy for someone to not ignore. And they're going to have to see it and be like, oh, let me give this a read. And again, if you have a referral, drop that name in the first line. Some of the trends that we're seeing in 2025, just keeping it high level, shorter, tailored letters are preferred. Video intros are rising. I wouldn't say it's a common practice yet, but if you're in comms or sale or anything that's like publicly facing and you're going to be communicating with, video intros might be helpful. AI tools are going to be here to help us personalize and optimize our cover letters, but authenticity still is going to win every single day. We want to think about storytelling and problem solving versus just listing qualifications. Qualifications is essentially your resume. So really think about talking in the format of a narrative, opening with a hook, and gaining traction. I include some tips on the resources that I'm going to give you, but I want to run through. I have 7 tips that I outline. Always tailor your letter to the job and the company. Avoid repeating your resume. Use metrics and results to show impact. Proofread for spelling and grammar. Keep it under one page. Be authentic, not robotic, and then use strong verbs and confident language. I have a few resources that I want to share with you, and I'm going to talk about how I got to this process before we hop into those. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you and first talk about the poll that I posted today. Every time I see, please include a cover letter, I audibly groan. Am I applying for a job or entering a time machine back to 2005? Let's settle it once and for all. I was not surprised by the responses that I got. The poll options were it's a necessary evil, totally pointless, only if they're personalized, read by no one, written by AI. I will admit that totally pointless and read by no one, written by AI is 100% the camps that I fell into when I started this day. Now it's the end of the day, and I have a completely different perspective. I think that they are a necessary evil. I think you absolutely should include them, and I don't even know if I'd call them evil. A necessary opportunity that you have is, I think, what I would see this as now. And if you have a difference of opinion, feel free to go ahead and come vote on this poll. It's open for the next 2 weeks. With that, before we hop into those resources, I do want to talk about how I got here. Now, first and foremost, ChatGPT is an amazing tool, as you all know. In most of my videos, if not all of my videos, I'm probably going to talk about ChatGPT. I work from home. Now I don't work. I'm just at home. I have 2 dogs, which I love to talk to throughout the day, but ChatGPT has become my new bestie, at least my work bestie. I talk to Chat all the time. I don't assign Chat a gender, but sometimes you'll hear me slip up and say he or she or it. If you have questions around how you can use ChatGPT to really get ahead, I'm always trying to share the prompts that I'm utilizing. But in this case, you can start with ChatGPT and ask a question. And think of it this way, a simple question will get you a simple response. Should I include a cover letter? You're going to get a response that says, yes, you should. It may not go into detail about why, but you can always prompt it to that and have a conversation back and forth. But when you're using ChatGPT or any of these tools that are out there, try to think about how you can use them to really get to the root of the answer you're looking for. And that is where this deep research thing comes in, and it's amazing. Looks like I get 24 of them until the first of the month where I can do some deep research. Now, ChatGPT's deep research is awesome, but I will say I love a tool called Gemini. And Gemini is powered by Google. It's ChatGPT, but powered by Google. And their deep research is amazing. So the way I used this was I said, I'd like you to do a deep dive on a cover letter trends in 2025. Are they still relevant? Should you write one? What are the best ways to write one? What should you include in a cover letter? What if you have been at your current job less than a year or less than 6 months? Should you still write one to explain the current situation? Please include anything else that you think would be useful. I'm looking for any industry. I'll likely be applying through LinkedIn, company websites, with and without referral, and mainly for full-time roles, but include any type of roles. You wait, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 minutes. I would say it's usually not longer than 20, and it scrapes the web. It goes through a plethora. I think there was like 100 or 117 different websites that it referred to come up with this research. And then, for anyone who's curious, I'm going to share out in my Google Drive with a link that will be in the description of the video You can see the 2025 cover letter research right here. And so if you're curious about what it spit out for me and what it said, this is exactly what I read to make this video for you today. Now I understand not everyone has the time or maybe thinks the way that I'm thinking about writing prompts, and there's people who are better and there's people who are worse. But I'm sharing what I've done for you just to be as transparent as possible. So now let's hop into the cover letter template that I've created. First and foremost, we have how to use the template. This hyperlink right now I don't think it does anything, but it will link to this video. And I'll also include the timestamp for when I start talking about this portion. So you can go ahead and skip ahead if you'd like. Tips for your cover letter, I'm not going to go through them. We talked about them, but you can see them here. And then you essentially will choose one of the prompts that I have for you, copy it and paste it into ChatGPT. The prompts I have are over here on this tab. The first one's going to be the impact prompt. It gives you the description. This is the prompt right here, how to use it, when to use it, who it's best for, what to include. I've done the same thing for a career narrative and a cultural fit. So read through each one and figure out kind of which one's best for you. And for the sake of this video, I'm actually going to go through the exercise live with you so you can see how I've done this. And this time I didn't do it beforehand. So I'm actually going to go through step by step with you. Because this one says when to use, when you've been laid off or after recent changes, your last job lasted under a year, and you're shifting industries or job functions, I think that this first bullet point applies to me. I recently was laid off, which is why I'm doing this entire series. So write a cover letter for a job at some company that briefly tells the story of my career transition or recent job change, address a short tenure, layoff, or industry pivot professionally and positively. Emphasize transferable skills and motivation to grow in this new role. Keep the letter under 300 words. So I know how to use this, but I like to jump down. What I would say is work backwards. So start with what to include. First, your resume. Check, I have that. The job posting. I gotta go find a job. I did find one on ZipRecruiter, this IT Agile program manager that I think probably overlaps a lot with my resume. So I'm gonna apply to this job. I also want a brief context about my recent job change, why I left and what I learned, any key transferable skills from my last job, and what excites me about the new role or company. First and foremost, let's go to the job. Let's grab the job description all the way down to qualifications. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go over to ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, below is a job I'm interested in. Can you review my resume and pull out any transferable skills? I'm going to go ahead and paste the job description, and then I'm going to use this plus button down here to add photos and videos or files, and I'm going to go to the resume that I want to utilize for this exercise. So it's going to go ahead, load it. Once it's loaded, the arrow will turn white, and I can go ahead and click that. And as you see, it will begin to think, read the documents, and then ideally spit out the transferable skills based on what it can see. So it's looking like it's listing the job requirements and my experience. So this is going to be those transferable skills that I'll go ahead and utilize. It's also doing more than I asked for, and it's giving me additional strengths that align with the role, gaps if any, and recommendations. So that's part one. We can check that bucket off. I have transferable skills. Now, I have already posted the job into ChatGPT, but I need to answer this question of what excites me about the new role or company. Let's go back to chat and say, if you were me, if you were looking at this role, what would excite you about the opportunity, the company, or the opportunity? And bear with me, I'm exhausted, so my spelling, it's always bad, and I type slow, but it's really bad today. So if I were looking at this IT program manager role at Wilson Elser, here's what would genuinely excite me about the company. Now, I'm not going to go through this because for the sake of like this video, I'm just going to take ChatGPT's response. But I do want to touch upon this part briefly, brief context about your recent job change. So now I'm going to say this. Let me go back to, let me go back to the prompt that I want to use. I'm going to copy this prompt. I'm going to go back to ChatGPT. I'm going to say, write a cover letter for, and you could just put this information in, for the IT Agile Program Manager at backspace, put in this company, Wilson Elser. That briefly tells the story of my career transition or recent job change. I'm going to take this. That briefly tells the story of my recent layoff from CrowdStrike. The only information I have about the layoff is that it was a business decision and had, oops, nothing to do with my performance. I was one of 500 impacted employees. Let's say address a short tenure, layoff, or industry pivot professionally and positively. Emphasize transferable skills and motivation to grow in this new role. Keep the letter under 300 words. And please, let's say this, and please reference the transferable skills and interest in the position outlined above. Let's see what it spits out. So I did change the prompt slightly just because I wanted to include a little bit of additional information. And this is what it spits out, right? So dear hiring team at Wilson Elser, I'm excited to apply for the IT program manager position. Most recently, I served as an engineering program manager at CrowdStrike, where I led large-scale agile initiatives across UI and sensor platforms. Although my time there was cut short due to a company-wide business decision impacting 500 employees, I'm proud of the impact I made, driving DevOps alignment, leading multi-team agile delivery, and improving cross-platform collaboration. I like that. First and foremost, it literally says what I just did. It says why I got laid off, and why I'm looking for a new opportunity. And then also talks about the impact. And I wrote none of that. This role at Wilson immediately caught my eye because of the opportunity to bring agile leadership into a legal tech environment. I've worked across regulated industries. Now it's going to go into my experiences. What excites me most about the chance to help modernize your case management and data platforms, and it's going to talk about what you would be doing in this position. Thank you for considering my application. I'd welcome the opportunity to speak further about how I can contribute. Call to action right there. This is great. What would have taken me, sure, I could have written a previous cover letter and I could have gone out there and said, I'm going to go and include all of this stuff and then I'm going to try to adapt it. And it would take me an hour, if not more, to write one cover letter. It just took me 5 minutes, if that. I can now copy this. I can attach it in the beginning part of my resume, make it a PDF, and then upload it on an easy apply on LinkedIn. I could export this separately, go ahead and use the copy button down here and paste it into a new document, and I'll show you just what that looks like. We can go back to our drive. We can go ahead and just do a new Google Doc, and I'll just go ahead and paste this information. Now, obviously, you want to take out the part where you went to ChatGPT, which is crucial because if you don't, there's been a lot of things that have been circulating out there of people who like do this, but they don't take out, the ChatGPT part, and it's very clear. And we can also quickly just see what is it going to give me a word count? I always forget how to do this in Google Docs, but there's a way. I think you go to tools or something. Yeah, you can do the word count here. So words, 221 words. Pretty quick, pretty easy. And it's within that 150 to 250 word range, like we talked about. I think this is pretty good. Let me know your thoughts. Hopefully this works for you. I'll be sharing these resources out so that everyone can utilize them if you think it's helpful. And if you're still unsure about your cover letter and if it will stand out, feel free to drop a comment with your situation, add me on LinkedIn and reach out to me with a message. I'll give you a personalized advice. Again, it's just my opinion, but don't forget to subscribe and follow along on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram for more job search tips during this reboot era. Thanks, everyone.